Hello, my name is Pamela Oliveira. We are starting a new episode of What is Happening in Brazil, the show where you get up-to-date information and learn fun facts about Brazil. Here is the latest featured news.
Brazilian democracy and I are almost the same age.
The Brazilian feature The Edge of Democracy by Naruna Costa got an Oscar nomination for Best Documentary, the Academy announced on January 13th. The film premiered at the Sundance Film Festival in the United States in January 2019 and was released by the streaming platform Netflix in June. The documentary features director Naruna Costa's own background with archive footage and her personal accounts about Brazilian democracy by recollecting political episodes between 2002 and 2018. Costa shows never-before-seen footage of events prior to and following the 2016 coup against President Dilma Rousseff of the Workers' Party. The director had behind-the-scenes access to the impeachment proceedings that shook Brazilian democracy and culminated in the imprisonment of former President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva in April 2018 and the electoral victory of the far-right army captain turned politician Jair Bolsonaro. Since its premiere, The Edge of Democracy has been critically acclaimed and was even included in the New York Times list of best films in 2019. The illegal pesticide market, where stolen or smuggled products are traded, is growing in Brazil, according to surveys conducted by agribusiness-related organizations. Research based on information provided by law enforcement and state authorities shows that more than 20% of the agrochemicals traded in the country come from illegal sources. Most of these under-the-counter chemicals are smuggled into Brazil through the border from Paraguay, where there is little to none control over agrochemical production. As a consequence of this trade, Brazilians end up eating food with substances that are illegal and bad for their health. Experts underscore, however, that illegal pesticides are not the only problem in Brazil, as approved chemicals also cause adverse effects for health and the environment. In 2019 alone, the Brazilian government approved nearly 500 new pesticides.
5 in every 10 teachers work in the public education system in the state of São Paulo have suffered some kind of abuse or assault inside school facilities. That's what a survey conducted by the Teachers Union showed. The most common cases include bullying, verbal abuse, physical assault, and vandalism. The study reveals a sad reality, that Brazilian teachers are underappreciated.
It's remarkable how teachers are underappreciated. Society in general is aware of that. Students are aware of that. And of course, the teachers are aware of that. The good thing about this survey is that it's not just about the teacher's voice. They also interview students and people in general, and they also spoke with teachers.
A survey conducted in the state of São Paulo showed that violence in public schools has been on the rise in recent years. The survey carried out by the Teachers Union showed that 5 in every 10 teachers who work in the public education system in the state of São Paulo have experienced a violent incident inside school premises. That's the highest rate recorded since 2014.
I think that this shows how the government has forsaken these workers, the students and public schools in the state of São Paulo. There is always uncertainty. Students go to school, but parents don't know how they are getting there. Teachers go to school and don't know how they are going to leave.
Violent episodes between students have also increased. Nearly half the students of the public education system said they are victims of violent acts at school.
Schools are not supposed to be places of assault and violence. Schools are places of argument and persuasion, not coercion. When persuasion is replaced by coercion, the role of schools is compromised.
On this week's Culture Talk, you will meet the actress, stage director and singer Naruna Costa. She is currently starring a Brazilian drama on Netflix called Brotherhood. She is also a co-founder of the Clarion Theatre Company, established in 2012. She has a degree in playwriting, and one of her goals as an artist is to expand the representation of Black people in art and entertainment. Watch the interview she granted to Brasil de Fato.
nunca tirei o pé do chão com relação à minha realidade.
I've always been very grounded about my reality. My perspective as a woman from the outskirts, like all my neighbors and friends back then, were the worst possible. We had no perspectives about having a career, a craft. Our only perspective was to eventually work as a supermarket cashier. It always felt like we didn't have freedom of choice. When I started in theater, that was such an achievement. And what I wanted was to be able to live off of it. I wanted to be able to live exclusively off of what I liked and wished to do, which was theater, without having to hustle to get by. That was not something I could even imagine because there were only a few black actresses out there that I could have as role models of what I could achieve.
We're organized, and we ain't bowing our heads to any system of oppression, Your Honor.
I see a lot of potential in you, Christina.
Potential to be a rat?
Now that perspective, the place I am today, which is starring a series on an international platform, which is Netflix, or making a second record, the album I recorded, being on that place of representation, that's so huge. I couldn't even dream of that. It wasn't even something that I thought that was impossible. It was a possibility that I couldn't even conceive. I also feel that in the past 15 years or 2 decades, the communities on the outskirts started to have more autonomy and be more recognized for their ability to have their own cultural production. There are many movements, not just cultural movements, but also social and economic movements, with the possibility of creating networks, sharing between different communities. The saraus, which are poetry reading sessions and slams, are also places of struggle where the music, theater, poetry, and literary scenes were able to build bodies of work, and that's because those cultural spaces are enduring.
Now it's time for Brazilianism.
Today we are having some home-cooked feijoada. I'm here with my friend Janaína Rueda.
We have pork ribs, trotters, tails, and ears. These sausages are made especially for feijoada. And we've got outside flats. We let all this sit overnight with salt and seasoning. Feijoada is a very labor-intensive meal if you make everything in one day. If you are cooking for a lot of people, you have to start chopping the ingredients the day before to get everything done in time. The feijoada stew is made with black beans. I start to season the stew and add the meat that I pre-cooked. I also add just a little bit of apple cider vinegar. Now let's brown the pig's trotters. You're gonna want to add some water on the side so they won't burn. Now it's time to sauté the tails and ears. They can go together in the same frying pan. Now it's time to start cooking the trotters, the tails and ears, because the other ingredients cook fast. So, while you sauté the other parts, they are already cooking, see? You're already taking care of that. I also add a bag of beans so the stew can start getting that nice color. Otherwise, it would just get whitish. Now it's time to add the beans. You have to brown all sides of these pieces. The outside flats are harder to sauté. And finally, the pork ribs. They are the last thing to go in because they cook really fast.
Want to keep up with the latest news from Brazil? Add this number you see on the screen to your contacts and send us a WhatsApp message with your name and country. I see you next week. Bye!